So despite the fact that there are examples of the genre in the last video and this one, I've actually never really been that into first-person shooters. Like I said before, I never got into Doom at the time, beyond being impressed at the tech on my free shareware level. And even in the case of Jedi Knight last time out, it was really more about all the Star Wars and those lovely FMV cutscenes. And those cutscenes are important because they represent how stories had been told in games up to this point. Whenever there was a story worth telling, of course. Up until this year, we've been largely covering an era in which most games took a very light touch with the explicit storytelling. Sonic and Mario style platformers, Road Rash and Outrun style racers, Streets of Rage and Turtles style beat-em-ups presented the minimum amount of story necessary to provide context to the on-screen action, then let the gameplay take centre stage. Now that CD storage and the ability to save games and come back to them later has allowed for larger, longer experiences, games were able to tell stories more similar to film or TV. But typically, these mostly took the form of playing a video game for a bit, then getting to a certain checkpoint, where you'd be interrupted with a short amount of either film or animated sequence telling a bit more of the story, before you load back into the game and start playing again until you reach the next bit of story. Those aspects being kept separate had always presented a bit of a barrier to immersion, given that the story scenes often looked very different to what you were actually playing, and because their aesthetics were entirely informed by filmic or televisual cinematography, there was often a huge disconnect between the story bits and the game bits. So this is the background as to why Half-Life is considered so historic and groundbreaking, as it was the first time many gamers had experienced a fairly detailed and complex story entirely inside the playable portion of the game, with no pauses for any pre-rendered cutscenes or explicit moments of exposition where you just sit still listening to someone explain everything to you. Don't be fooled by the opening tram ride. Of course you can't do much here in the opening few minutes as you ride the monorail tram thing around the facility you'll soon be fighting through. You can walk around the car, this is not a cutscene, but it does set up the background to you, Gordon Freeman, science buffin, employed by a not at all shady corporation that has a Bond villain style lair in a fucking volcano. I mean, if Gordon can't figure out by now he's working for Hans Scorpio, he can't be that clever.
I never noticed this office before.
Why should you? It's mine.
You have any sugar around here?
Sugar? Sure. Here you go. Sorry it's not in packages. Want some cream?
No.
The opening half hour of the game sees you walking about the facility actually doing your job, talking to your colleagues, being a nuisance by messing with the microwave and interrupting people's toilet time. Getting your hazard suit on for a big experiment you're doing. No enemies here, no guns, just in-world storytelling through brief dialogue and smart use of the environment. It takes a while before you eventually balls up said big experiment and open a portal to an alien dimension, allowing all kinds of nasty boys through. Now we're in a game. But the cool, horror-tinged atmosphere and developing story of survival continues to be told through your own interaction with the environment and occasionally other characters. You see the facility falling apart around you, showing you how powerful this event has been.
Oh, no.
You see former colleagues pulled up into the air vents by partially seen creatures, heightening the sense of fear and danger as you explore your surroundings. You don't start with a machine gun to start mowing through the alien menace like Dutch and Predator, you work up to it. Using the crowbar against these headcrabs in a cramped server room is a surprisingly effective recreation of the dread you felt when watching Ripley and Newt trapped with the facehugger in Aliens. As you work your way through the facility, you uncover more about the Black Mesa facility itself and the super dodginess of your employers, frequently catching glimpses of the mysterious puppet master man in a suit, and as the action builds to a crescendo, you'll eventually be in a fully featured shooter with all the guns, taking on Special Forces humans as well as alien monsters as you try to escape, but doing all of this in what appears to be one seamless adventure, aside from needing to load new areas from time to time, of course. This truly heightens the feeling of immersion and gives you a personal stake in the narrative of survival. Of course, this can be undercut with the proper soundtrack. In the couple of years following the release of this game, for some reason I came to heavily associate it with listening to the album Mimosa by the Fun Loving Criminals. So every time I see this footage, I have lovely, relaxing lounge music playing in my head. It makes the experience considerably less scary, and arguably more like a genuine psychopath casually walking around Black Mesa, ending scores of lives, both human and alien, while humming Can't Get It Right to himself.
Time was drifting, this rock's got to roll. So I hit the road and made my getaway. Restless feeling really got a hold. I started searching for a better way, and I kept on looking for a sign in the middle of the night, but I couldn't see the light. No, I couldn't see the light.
As far as the gameplay is concerned, there's not much to note. Have you played a first-person shooter in the last 27 years? Well, that's this right here. That is what this is. All of those games did this as a baseline and then added their own little quirks, gimmicks and tweaks. But this has been the first-person shooter experience ever since. Yeah, you've got your objects in the environment that move with realistic physics and can be destroyed. That was a pretty new thing in an FPS. You got your scripted sequences that don't take control away from you. You got a flashlight for dark areas, again, quite a new idea. You got all that first-person platforming that we all love so much in shooters, right? Okay, well, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's 27 years old, but it's still a blast to play. It's difficult to appreciate the impact of Half-Life until you think about it like that. And, thankfully, this is one that holds up. So often the games that are so influential and change everything are ultimately eclipsed by the games that mimic them, but Half-Life remains a joy to play. Smooth, well-paced, satisfying combat and an expertly told story. There's a reason people still beg Valve Online for more from this universe, because nobody's ever really bettered it. If you've not played this, you should, even if only to see how all the modern conventions of first-person gaming were established. But thankfully, it's also a bloody good time anyway. Oh, yeah, except for that bit on the alien world, don't think about that. Don't think about that bit. Just think about the other bits.
And I kept on